The glittering lights of Manhattan's most exclusive charity gala reflected off the rain-slick streets like scattered diamonds, but Sera Matthews saw none of the beauty. Huddled in the doorway of a closed coffee shop across from the towering Blackstone Industries building, she pressed her thin jacket tighter against her shivering body and stared up at the impossible height of glass and steel. Somewhere in that gleaming tower, behind bulletproof windows and armed security, was the man who could save Emma. The same man who would probably have her arrested on sight. Marcus Blackstone. Billionaire. Alpha of the most powerful werewolf pack on the East Coast. And the father who thought his daughter was dead. Sera's fingers trembled as she touched the small, worn photograph hidden in her jacket pocket, a picture of a laughing 5-year-old girl with dark curls and bright green eyes. Emma's eyes. Marcus Blackstone's eyes. 5 years, Sera thought, her heart clenching. 5 years of keeping Emma hidden, safe, alive. 5 years of living in abandoned buildings and scraping together enough food to keep them both breathing. 5 years of running from the wolves who wanted to finish what they'd started. But Emma was getting sicker. The cough that had started as a minor cold 3 weeks ago wasn't going away, and Sera knew with the desperate certainty of someone who'd lost everything before that she couldn't wait any longer. Her daughter needed real medical care, a warm home, and most importantly, she needed her father. Even if that father was the most dangerous alpha in the city. The sound of expensive cars pulling up to the building's entrance made Sera's stomach twist. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, she could see the gala in full swing, men in tailored tuxedos and women dripping in jewels, all of them oblivious to the homeless girl watching from the shadows. Sera had been watching Marcus Blackstone for weeks, learning his routines, his security patterns, his habits. Tonight was her only chance. The annual Children's Medical Research Charity Gala, ironic, considering she was about to crash it to save a child these people thought was already dead. Taking a shaky breath, Sera stepped out into the rain. Her sneakers squelched against the wet pavement as she crossed the street, every step taking her closer to a confrontation that would either save Emma's life or destroy them both. The security guards at the entrance looked exactly like what they were, elite werewolf enforcers in expensive suits. Their eyes tracked her approach with the predatory focus of apex predators, nostrils flaring slightly as they caught her scent. Omega. Lone wolf. Threat. Evening, miss, the larger guard said, his voice deceptively polite. I'm afraid this is a private event. Invitation only. Sera lifted her chin, calling on every ounce of courage she'd built up over 5 years of protecting the most precious thing in her world. I need to speak with Marcus Blackstone. It's about his daughter. The guards exchanged glances. Mr. Blackstone's daughter passed away 5 years ago, the second guard said, his tone softening slightly. Perhaps you're confused. Emma Grace Blackstone, Sera said clearly, her voice carrying despite the rain. Born June 15th. She had a stuffed rabbit named Mr. Hoppers and she used to sing, "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star," every night before bed. She's not dead. The words hung in the air like a challenge. Both guards went very still, and Sera could practically feel the mental communication flowing between them, pack bonds allowing silent conversation she couldn't hear. Miss, I'm going to have to ask you to leave, the first guard said, reaching for her arm. That's when Sera played her only card. Tell him the Omega who's been caring for his daughter for 5 years needs 5 minutes of his time, she said, pulling out the photograph and holding it where they could see it. Tell him Emma has his eyes and her mother's smile, and she asks about her daddy every single day. The photograph showed Emma at age 10, laughing as she fed pigeons in Central Park last month. The resemblance to Marcus Blackstone was unmistakable, the same sharp jawline, the same intense green eyes, the same stubborn set to her small shoulders. Both guards stared at the image like they'd seen a ghost. Wait here, the larger one said finally, disappearing through the glass doors. Sera stood in the rain, water dripping from her dark hair and soaking through her inadequate clothing, but she didn't move. Couldn't move. Everything depended on the next few minutes. Through the windows, she could see the guard approaching a group of men near the bar. Even from a distance, there was no mistaking Marcus Blackstone. At 6'4" with broad shoulders and the kind of commanding presence that made other alphas step aside, he dominated any room he entered. His dark hair was perfectly styled, his tuxedo probably cost more than most people made in a year, and his green eyes, Emma's eyes, were currently listening intently to whatever his security team was telling him. Sera watched his face change. Watched the color drain from his features. Watched his hand shake slightly as he set down his champagne glass. Then he was moving, cutting through the crowd with the fluid grace of a predator, his security team flanking him as he headed for the entrance. The glass doors burst open, and suddenly Marcus Blackstone was standing in front of her, rain dampening his expensive tuxedo as he stared at her with an expression caught somewhere between hope and fury. "You," he said, his voice low and rough with barely controlled emotion. "You're the one who claims to know about my daughter." Up close, he was even more intimidating than Sera had expected. Power radiated from him in waves, alpha dominance so strong it made her omega instinct scream at her to submit, to look away, to run. But she thought of Emma lying in their makeshift bed in the abandoned warehouse, coughing and asking when they could go home, and she held her ground. "I don't claim to know about her," Sera said, lifting her chin to meet his fierce gaze. "I know her. I've been taking care of her since the night someone tried to kill her along with your wife." The words hit him like a physical blow. Marcus Blackstone, one of the most powerful men in the world, actually staggered backward. "That's impossible," he whispered. "Emma died in the car crash. I saw the wreckage. I buried," his voice broke. "I buried an empty coffin." "Because she wasn't in the car when it exploded," Sera said, rain streaming down her face as she pulled out the photograph again. "Because I pulled her out of that vehicle 30 seconds before the bomb went off. Because someone wanted you to think she was dead." Marcus stared at the photograph with the desperate hunger of a man seeing water after years in the desert. His hands shook as he reached for it, then stopped, as if afraid touching it would make it disappear. "This could be anyone," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Any child who..." "She has a birthmark on her left shoulder," Sera continued relentlessly. "Shaped like a crescent moon. She's afraid of thunderstorms but loves the rain. She's brilliant at math but struggles with reading because she's dyslexic. She remembers you, Marcus. She remembers everything." Each detail hit its mark. Marcus's carefully controlled facade was cracking, 5 years of grief and guilt crashing over him like a tidal wave. "Where is she?" he demanded, stepping closer. "If this is real, if my daughter is really alive, where the hell is she?" "Safe," Sera said firmly. "Hidden. Protected. The same people who killed your wife are still out there, still looking for her. I've spent 5 years keeping her away from them." "5 years," Marcus repeated, his voice filled with anguish. "5 years I could have been with her. 5 years she's been living with." He stopped, really looking at Sera for the first time. Taking in her too thin frame, her worn clothing, the exhaustion etched into her young face. "How old are you?" 19, Sera said, then quickly added, "But I've taken good care of her. I've kept her safe, fed, educated. I've loved her like she was my own because she is my own. She's everything to me." Something shifted in Marcus's expression as he processed this. "You were 14 when you saved her. A child yourself. Old enough to know right from wrong," Sera shot back. "Old enough to know that little girl needed someone to protect her when the rest of the world gave up looking." They stared at each other in the rain, Alpha and Omega, two broken souls connected by the child they both loved. Sera could see the exact moment Marcus made his decision. "I want to see her," he said. "Now." "It's not that simple." "Like hell it isn't." The alpha authority in his voice made her instinct scream, but Sera forced herself to stand firm. "The people who tried to kill her are still out there," she said. "They have resources, connections, power. If they find out she's alive, then I'll kill them," Marcus said with deadly calm. "Every single one of them. But first, I want to see my daughter." The raw pain in his voice, the desperate love of a father who'd thought his child was gone forever, broke through Sera's defenses. She'd imagined this moment so many times, planned for it, dreaded it. Because she knew what came next. She'd have to give Emma back to her real father. She'd have to step aside and let this powerful, wealthy alpha reclaim the daughter Sera had raised and loved and protected with her life. She'd have to say goodbye to the only family she'd ever known. But Emma needed medical care, needed safety, needed the kind of life Marcus Blackstone could provide. Sera's love wasn't enough anymore. "She's sick," Sera said quietly, the words feeling like they were tearing out of her chest. "That's why I'm here. I can't take care of her the way she needs anymore. She needs you." Marcus stepped closer, and for a moment, his alpha intensity softened into something almost gentle. "You've been taking care of my daughter for 5 years. Whatever you need, money, housing, medical care, it's yours. You brought her back to me." "I don't want your money," Sera said, though the offer tempted her more than she wanted to admit. "I just want her to be safe and happy." "Then we want the same thing," Marcus said. "Take me to her." Sera looked up at this powerful alpha, this man who could give Emma everything she deserved, and made the hardest decision of her life. "Follow me," she said. "But Marcus, if you hurt her, if you let anything happen to her, I'll make you regret it for the rest of your life." The threat should have been laughable, a homeless Omega threatening one of the most powerful alphas in the world. But something in Marcus's eyes suggested he took her completely seriously. "I believe you would," he said softly. "And I respect that. You've been her guardian for 5 years. I'm not going to take that lightly." As they walked toward his waiting car, Sera felt the ground shifting beneath her feet. Everything was about to change. Her life, Emma's life, all of it balanced on the knife's edge of this moment. She just prayed she was making the right choice. Behind them, watching from the shadows of the building, a figure pulled out a cell phone. "She's here," a woman's voice said into the device. "The girl who's been hiding Emma. And she's with Marcus." The voice on the other end was smooth, cultured, and deadly. "Perfect. It's time to finish what we started 5 years ago." If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Chapter 2. Sera woke to silk. The sensation was so foreign, so impossibly soft against her skin, that for a moment she thought she was dreaming. Then reality crashed back, the gala, the rain, Marcus Blackstone's devastated face when she'd shown him Emma's photograph. She bolted upright, her heart hammering against her ribs as she took in her surroundings. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a breathtaking view of Manhattan's skyline, the city lights twinkling like earthbound stars. The bed she was lying on was bigger than most of the rooms she and Emma had shared, covered in sheets that probably cost more than Sera had ever seen in her life. This wasn't a hospital. This was a palace. "You're awake." Sera spun toward the deep voice, every survival instinct screaming at her to run. Marcus Blackstone stood in the doorway, no longer wearing his rain-soaked tuxedo. Instead, he was dressed in dark jeans and a black sweater that did nothing to diminish his commanding presence. If anything, the casual clothes made him more intimidating, like a predator who'd shed his formal disguise. "Where am I?" Sera demanded, throwing back the silk coverlet and swinging her legs over the edge of the bed. Her clothes had been changed too, she realized with a spike of panic. Instead of her wet, torn jeans and thin jacket, she was wearing soft pajamas that felt like clouds against her skin. "My penthouse," Marcus said, not moving from the doorway. "You collapsed in the car." "Exhaustion, dehydration, probably hunger." "When was the last time you ate a real meal?" Sera ignored the question, her mind racing. "Who changed my clothes?" "My housekeeper, Mrs. Chen. She's been with my family for 20 years. His green eyes, Emma's eyes, studied her with unsettling intensity. "You're safe here." Safe. The word was a foreign concept to someone who'd spent 5 years looking over her shoulder, sleeping with one eye open, ready to run at the first sign of danger. "I need to leave," Sera said, standing on unsteady legs. The room tilted slightly, and she gripped the bedpost for support. Emma will be worried. She doesn't like being alone at night. Emma. Marcus spoke his daughter's name like a prayer. Tell me where she is. The demand in his voice, the alpha authority that made her Omega Wolf whimper, only strengthened Sera's resolve. She'd spent too many years being pushed around, dismissed, treated like she didn't matter. Not anymore. No, she said simply. Marcus blinked, clearly not used to being refused. Excuse me? I said no. Sera lifted her chin, meeting his gaze despite every instinct telling her to submit. You think you can just bring me to your fancy apartment, dress me up like a doll, and I'll hand over the location of your daughter? It doesn't work that way. She's my daughter, Marcus said, his voice low and dangerous. My blood. My family. You have no legal right to keep her from me. And you have no legal right to take her, Sera shot back. According to the world, Emma Blackstone is dead. Has been for 5 years. Which means the girl I've been raising doesn't exist in any system you can access. The truth of her words hit him like a physical blow. Marcus ran a hand through his dark hair, and for a moment, he looked less like an all-powerful alpha and more like a man who'd been living with unbearable loss. You're right, he said quietly. She's legally dead. Which means I can't go to the authorities, can't demand custody, can't. He trailed off, the implications sinking in. You hold all the cards. I hold Emma's safety, Sera corrected. And I won't risk it. Not even for you. They stared at each other across the elegant bedroom, two people from completely different worlds united by their love for the same child. Sera could feel something strange happening, a pull she couldn't explain, a warmth in her chest that had nothing to do with the luxurious surroundings. Marcus seemed to feel it too. His nostrils flared slightly, and confusion flickered across his features. Your scent, he said, almost to himself. There's something about your scent. Sera wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly self-conscious. She'd never been able to afford the perfumes and lotions other girls used. All she had was soap from gas station bathrooms and whatever shampoo she could steal from convenience stores. I know I don't smell like your usual company, she said defensively. No, Marcus said, stepping closer. You smell like... He paused, searching for words. Like home. Like safety. Like something I've been missing my entire life. The intensity in his voice made Sera's heart skip. She'd felt it too, that inexplicable sense of rightness when he'd held her in the rain, the way her panicked Omega Wolf had calmed in his presence despite every logical reason to fear him. I don't know what you're talking about, she lied. Marcus studied her face, and Sera had the uncomfortable feeling he could see right through her defenses. You feel it too. This connection between us. The only connection between us is Emma, Sera said firmly, though her treacherous body disagreed. Even now, standing across the room from him, she could feel the pull, like invisible threads drawing them together. Is it? Marcus asked softly. Or is there something else? Something that brought you to me tonight, of all nights? Before Sera could answer, her stomach growled loudly, reminding her that she hadn't eaten since yesterday. She pressed a hand to her abdomen, embarrassed by the betrayal of her own body. Marcus's expression immediately softened. When did you last eat? That's not important. It is to me. He moved toward a panel on the wall, pressing something that must have been an intercom. Mrs. Chen? Could you bring up some food? Something light, soup, maybe some bread. You don't need to. I do, Marcus said firmly. You've been taking care of my daughter for 5 years. The least I can do is make sure you're fed. The kindness in his voice, unexpected after their confrontation, made Sera's throat tight. She wasn't used to people caring about her basic needs. For so long, she'd been focused entirely on Emma, making sure the little girl was fed, warm, safe. No one had ever worried about whether Sera was okay. Why didn't you take me to a hospital? She asked suddenly. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Because you don't trust easily. And because if what you're telling me is true, if someone really did try to kill Emma, then the fewer people who know you're here, the better. You believe me? Sera asked, surprised by how much his answer mattered. I want to, Marcus said honestly. God, you have no idea how much I want to. But I buried my daughter 5 years ago. I've spent every day since then living with the guilt that I couldn't protect her. If you're lying to me, if this is some kind of cruel joke. It's not, Sera said quickly. I would never joke about Emma. She's everything to me. Prove it. The challenge hung between them. Sera stared at Marcus, reading the desperate hope in his eyes, the fear that she might be just another person looking to exploit his grief for money or attention. Slowly, she reached into the pocket of her borrowed pajamas and pulled out a small, threadbare stuffed rabbit. Its gray fur was matted from years of love, one ear slightly chewed from Emma's toddler years, and a tiny pink ribbon around its neck that had long since faded to white. Marcus went completely still, his face draining of color. Mr. Hoppers, he whispered. She sleeps with him every night, Sera said softly, holding the rabbit like the precious treasure it was. She talks to him when she's scared, tells him stories about the daddy she remembers. She's never let him out of her sight for more than a few hours. Marcus's hands shook as he reached for the stuffed animal. I gave this to her for her 3rd birthday. She named him because she said he looked like he was always ready to hop away on an adventure. She still says that, Sera said, placing Mr. Hoppers in Marcus's large hands. She says when you come back, you'll all go on adventures together. A sound broke from Marcus's throat, part sob, part desperate laugh. He clutched the rabbit to his chest, and Sera could see 5 years of grief and hope warring in his expression. She really is alive, he breathed. She really is, Sera confirmed. And she needs you. We both do. The admission slipped out before Sera could stop it. She needed him too, not just for Emma's medical care, but for something deeper, something that called to the lonely, frightened girl she'd been trying to hide for so long. Marcus looked up at her, his eyes bright with unshed tears. Then why won't you take me to her? Because the people who tried to kill her are still out there, Sera said. And if they find out she's alive, if they discover she's been seen with you, they'll come for her again. Only this time, they won't make the mistake of leaving witnesses. What people? Marcus demanded. Who would want to hurt a 5-year-old child? Sera took a deep breath, knowing that what she was about to say would change everything. Someone close to you, she said. Someone who knew about the trip your wife was taking with Emma. Someone who had access to your security schedules, your travel plans. Someone who wanted them both dead and you broken. Marcus's face went stone cold, alpha fury radiating from him in waves. Are you saying someone in my pack was involved? I'm saying someone who loved you enough to get close orchestrated the murder of your wife and daughter, Sera said quietly. And when that person finds out Emma survived, they'll finish the job. The silence stretched between them, heavy with implication. Marcus sank onto a chair, still clutching Mr. Hoppers, as the reality of betrayal settled over him. Who? He asked finally. I don't know, Sera admitted. I was too young, too scared to pay attention to names and faces. All I knew was that Emma needed to disappear, needed to stay hidden until... Until what? Until someone could protect her better than I can, Sera said, the words tasting like failure in her mouth. She's getting sick, Marcus. Really sick. And I can't. I can't take care of her the way she needs anymore. She needs real medical care, a real home, a real family. She has a real family, Marcus said fiercely. She has me. And she has you. The words hit Sera like a physical blow. I'm nobody. Just some homeless girl who saved my daughter's life, Marcus interrupted. Who raised her for 5 years, loved her, protected her when I couldn't. You think that makes you nobody? Before Sera could answer, there was a soft knock at the door. Mrs. Chen entered with a tray of food that smelled like heaven, homemade soup, fresh bread, and tea that steamed invitingly. Thank you, Mrs. Chen, Marcus said. Could you give us some privacy? The older woman nodded and left quietly, but not before giving Sera a kind smile that somehow made her feel even more out of place in this world of luxury and service. Marcus set the tray on a small table near the window and gestured for Sera to join him. Eat. We'll figure out the rest. Sera approached cautiously, her stomach growling at the divine smells. But as she reached for the spoon, she paused. What if I'm wrong? She asked suddenly. What if taking you to her puts her in more danger? Marcus was quiet for a long moment, considering her words with the gravity they deserved. Then we'll protect her together, he said finally. You know how to keep her hidden, and I know how to eliminate threats. Between the two of us, she'll be safe. Promise me, Sera said urgently. Promise me that if something goes wrong, if they come for her, you'll get her out. Even if it means leaving me behind. Sera. Promise me, she insisted. Emma's life is worth more than mine. If it comes down to a choice. It won't, Marcus said firmly. Because I'm not losing either of you. Not again. The conviction in his voice, the absolute certainty, made something warm unfurl in Sera's chest. For the first time in years, she felt like she wasn't carrying the burden alone. Okay, she said finally. I'll take you to her. But Marcus, if you betray us, if you let anything happen to her, they'll kill her for real this time. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Chapter 3. The abandoned warehouse squatted in the industrial district like a forgotten beast, its broken windows and rusted fire escapes testament to better days long past. Marcus stared at the building through the windshield of his Bentley, his heart clenching at the thought of his daughter, his precious Emma, living in such a place. This is it, Sera said quietly from the passenger seat, her fingers gripping Mr. Hopper's so tightly her knuckles had gone white. I know it doesn't look like much, but it's warm and dry inside. I made sure of that. Marcus turned to study her profile in the dim light from the street lamps. Even in his expensive borrowed clothes, with her dark hair clean and shining, Sera looked like she belonged to this harsh world of shadows and survival. But there was something else there too, a fierce protectiveness that reminded him of a mother wolf guarding her cub. How long have you been living here? He asked. 6 months, Sera replied, then quickly added, before that, we had a place in Queens, but the landlord started asking too many questions about Emma's school records. We've moved a lot over the years. Staying ahead of anyone who might recognize her. The casual way she spoke about a life spent running, hiding, protecting his daughter while he'd been consumed with grief and guilt, made Marcus's chest tight. This slip of a girl, barely more than a child herself when she'd saved Emma, had been doing the job he should have been doing. Sera, he began, but she was already getting out of the car. She'll be scared, Sera said, scanning the dark street with practiced wariness. She's never seen you as an adult, only remembers you from when she was little. Don't be hurt if she doesn't run straight to you. Marcus nodded, though the possibility of his daughter not recognizing him felt like a knife to the heart. 5 years. 5 years of birthdays, scraped knees, bedtime stories, first days of school, all the moments he'd missed because he'd believed she was dead. They approached a side entrance partially hidden by overgrown weeds. Sera produced a key from somewhere and unlocked multiple deadbolts with practiced efficiency. The door opened to reveal a narrow corridor that had been swept clean, the walls painted a cheerful yellow despite the building's exterior decay. Emma? Sera called softly. It's me. I brought someone to meet you. A light flickered on deeper in the building, and then Marcus heard it, a voice he'd thought he'd never hear again, older now but unmistakably his daughter's. Sera. You were gone so long. I was worried the bad dreams would come back. Footsteps echoed through the corridor, and then she appeared around the corner, a 10-year-old girl with dark curls tumbling around her shoulders and bright green eyes that were exact mirrors of his own. She was taller than he remembered, leaner, but unmistakably, miraculously Emma. His daughter stopped short when she saw him, her small face going still with confusion and something that might have been hope. Emma, Sera said gently, dropping to one knee beside the girl. This is Marcus. Do you remember him? Emma's eyes widened, studying Marcus's face with the intense concentration of a child trying to reconcile memory with reality. Daddy, she whispered, the word so quiet Marcus almost didn't hear it. Yeah, baby girl, Marcus said, his voice breaking as he knelt down to her level. It's me. It's your daddy. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then Emma let out a cry that was part joy, part anguish, and launched herself into Marcus's arms with the force of 5 years of missing him. Daddy. Daddy, I knew you'd come. I told Sera you'd come find us. Emma buried her face against his neck, her small arms wrapping around him with desperate strength. I missed you so much. I missed you every day. Marcus crushed her against his chest, breathing in the scent of her hair, strawberry shampoo and something uniquely Emma that he'd never forgotten. Tears streamed down his face as he felt the weight of her, solid and real and alive in his arms. I'm sorry, he whispered against her hair. I'm so sorry, baby. I thought you were gone. I never stopped loving you, never stopped missing you. I know, Daddy, Emma said, pulling back to cup his face in her small hands. Sera told me you thought I was dead. She said that's why you couldn't come get me. But I always knew you'd find me when you could. Over Emma's head, Marcus met Sera's eyes. She was watching them with an expression of pure love and devastating sadness, the look of someone watching her heart break and mend at the same time. Sera saved me, Emma continued, turning to beam at the young woman who'd been her protector. She pulled me out of the car right before it exploded. The bad men didn't know I was alive. Bad men? Marcus asked, his protective instincts sharpening. Emma nodded solemnly. They made the car crash happen. Sera saw them do something to Mommy's car before we left for the trip. She tried to tell the grown-ups, but no one would listen to her because she was just a kid. Marcus looked at Sera again, seeing her with new eyes. You witnessed them sabotaging the car? I saw someone under the hood, Sera said quietly. I was sleeping rough near your building that night, there was a storm, and the loading dock gave me shelter. I saw someone mess with your wife's car, but when I tried to tell security, they chased me off. Figured some homeless kid was trying to cause trouble. So you followed us, Marcus said, the pieces clicking into place. I followed the car, Sera confirmed. Something felt wrong. When the explosion happened. She shuddered. I barely got Emma out in time. She carried me to safety, Emma added proudly. Then she took care of me when I was hurt and scared. She's been my guardian angel, Daddy. Marcus stood, lifting Emma with him, and held out his free arm to Sera. Both of you are guardian angels. Sera hesitated, then stepped into the embrace, allowing herself to be enfolded in the warmth of the family she'd helped preserve. For a moment, they stood there in the abandoned warehouse, father, daughter, and the young woman who'd been both mother and protector, connected by bonds deeper than blood. Can we go home now, Daddy? Emma asked. To the real house with the big kitchen and my room with the princess bed? Marcus's throat tightened. We can go anywhere you want, baby girl. But that house, it might not be safe anymore. Because of the bad men? Emma asked matter-of-factly. Because of the bad men, Marcus confirmed. Emma was quiet for a moment, then looked at Sera with concern. Will Sera come with us? She has to come with us, Daddy. She's my family too. Of course she'll come, Marcus said immediately, meeting Sera's startled gaze. If she wants to. Sera started, then stopped, clearly overwhelmed. She has to want to, Emma said firmly. She loves me, and I love her. And Daddy, you should love her too because she saved me for you. Out of the mouths of babes. Marcus felt something shift in his chest as he looked at Sera, this brave, selfless young woman who'd sacrificed everything to protect his daughter. The mate bond he'd been trying to ignore pulsed stronger, recognition flowing through him like warm honey. Emma's right, he said softly. You are family. Sera's eyes filled with tears. I never had a family before Emma. I don't know how to. You know how to love her, Marcus said. That's all family really is. Emma wiggled down from his arms and tugged on Sera's hand. Show Daddy our room. Show him how we made it pretty. Sera allowed herself to be led deeper into the warehouse, Marcus following behind. What he saw made his heart ache and swell simultaneously. The space had been transformed into a cozy living area with colorful rugs, fairy lights strung across the ceiling, and furniture that was clearly salvaged but arranged with love and care. A small kitchen area occupied one corner, stocked with canned goods and non-perishables. Books were everywhere, stacked on makeshift shelves, scattered across a small table that served as a desk. Sera taught me to read better, Emma said proudly. I'm almost caught up to where I should be for my age. And look. She ran to a corner where a mattress was covered with bright blankets and stuffed animals. We sleep together so I don't get scared, but Sera says when I'm older I can have my own bed. Marcus watched Sera's face as Emma showed off their life together, 5 years of making the best of impossible circumstances, of creating warmth and love and stability in a world that had given them none of those things. You did good, baby, Marcus told Emma, but his eyes were on Sera. Both of you did so good. A small cough interrupted the moment, the same cough Sera had mentioned earlier. Emma pressed a hand to her chest, trying to suppress it, but Marcus heard the wet, rattling sound that spoke of something serious. How long has she been coughing like that? He asked Sera quietly. 3 weeks, Sera admitted. It's getting worse. That's why She trailed off, but he understood. That's why she'd finally risked everything to find him. We'll get her to a doctor, Marcus said. Tonight. I'm okay, Emma protested, but another coughing fit contradicted her words. Sera was beside her instantly, rubbing her back and whispering soothing words. Marcus watched the interaction, his heart clenching at the obvious love and care between them. This was what his daughter had had for 5 years, not luxury or wealth or privilege, but something far more precious. Unconditional love. The lady who looks like Mommy was asking about me again, Emma said when the coughing subsided. Marcus went very still. What lady, baby? The pretty lady who comes to see the bad men sometimes, Emma said innocently. She looks just like Mommy, but with shorter hair. She always asks if they found me yet. The blood drained from Marcus's face. Emma, when do you see this lady? Sometimes when we're getting food or supplies, Emma explained. She doesn't see me, but I see her. She talks to men in black cars, and she always seems really angry that they haven't found me. Sera had gone pale, clearly understanding the implications even if Emma didn't. Emma, Marcus said carefully, this lady, did she ever come to the house? Before the accident? Emma nodded. She came for Christmas. And Thanksgiving. She always brought me presents and told me stories about when she and Mommy were little. Diana. His sister-in-law, his wife's twin sister, the woman who'd cried at the funeral and comforted him in his grief. The woman who'd been part of his inner circle, who'd had access to his home, his security schedules, his family's travel plans. The woman who'd wanted him broken and alone so she could claim what she believed should be hers, his pack leadership, his fortune, his power. Marcus? Sera's voice was tight with concern. Who is it? Before he could answer, the sound of car engines rumbled through the night air. Multiple vehicles, moving fast, getting closer. Sera's head snapped up, her face going white with fear. We have to go. Now. What? Marcus started. Those are the same cars, Emma whispered, pressing against Sera's side. The black cars the lady uses. Through the broken windows, Marcus could see the sweep of headlights as vehicles surrounded the warehouse. His blood turned to ice as he realized the trap they'd walked into. How many exits? He demanded. 2, Sera said, already moving, grabbing a backpack that had clearly been kept ready for quick escapes. But if they're surrounding us? The rumble of engines cut off, leaving an ominous silence. Then came the sound of car doors slamming, footsteps on concrete, the metallic click of weapons being readied. Marcus pulled Emma against his side, his other arm going around Sera as his alpha instincts roared to life. After 5 years, he'd found his daughter alive. He'd be damned if he was going to lose her now. "Stay close to me," he ordered quietly. "Both of you. Whatever happens, stay close." Outside, a familiar voice called through the darkness, cultured, elegant, and absolutely merciless. "Hello, Marcus. I think it's time we had a family reunion." If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Chapter 4. The warehouse's main entrance exploded inward with a crash that sent dust and debris flying through the air. Emma's small scream echoed through the space as Marcus instinctively pulled both her and Sera behind a stack of old shipping containers, his alpha senses roaring to life. "Marcus, darling," came that achingly familiar voice, cultured, elegant, and dripping with false sweetness. "There's no point in hiding. We have the building surrounded." High heels clicked against concrete as Diana Sterling stepped through the ruined doorway, looking every inch the Manhattan socialite in her designer coat and perfectly styled blonde hair. She might have been arriving at a charity luncheon instead of a kidnapping. Behind her came 6 men in tactical gear, their faces hidden behind masks, automatic weapons held with professional ease. Marcus's blood ran cold as he recognized the woman who'd been like a sister to him, who'd comforted him at his wife's funeral, who'd been a trusted part of his inner circle for over a decade. "Hello, Diana," Marcus said, stepping out from behind their meager cover while keeping Emma and Sera protected behind him. "Fancy meeting you here." Diana's smile was radiant and utterly terrifying. "Oh, Marcus. You always were too trusting. It's what made this whole thing so deliciously easy." "This whole thing?" Marcus kept his voice level despite the rage building in his chest. "The accident, darling. Though I suppose accident isn't quite the right word, is it?" Diana examined her manicured nails with casual indifference. "Car bombs are so much more definitive." Emma whimpered behind Marcus, and he felt rather than saw Sera's arms tighten protectively around his daughter. The sound of his child's fear sent his leaken instincts into overdrive, but he forced himself to remain calm. Information first. Violence later. Why? The single word came out raw with 5 years of grief and guilt. Diana's laugh was like broken glass. "Why? Oh, Marcus. You really are incredibly naive for such a powerful alpha." She began pacing, her heels echoing through the warehouse like a countdown. "You had everything. The pack leadership that should have gone to someone worthy. The billion-dollar empire built on werewolf labor and human ignorance. The perfect life while the rest of us scrambled for scraps. You were family," Marcus said, his voice hollow with betrayal. "Caroline loved you. I trusted you." "Caroline was weak," Diana spat, her mask of civility finally slipping. "She had all that power, all that influence, and what did she do with it? Charity work. Helping homeless humans. Wasting our resources on the very people who would destroy us if they knew what we were. So you killed her." "I liberated her from her own mediocrity," Diana corrected coldly. "And I was supposed to liberate you from the burden of that annoying little heir at the same time." Her cold blue eyes found Emma's terrified face. "But someone interfered with my plans." Marcus felt Sera tense behind him, her protective instincts warring with the need to remain hidden. But Emma, brave despite her fear, stepped out from behind her father. "You're the bad lady," Emma said, her young voice steady despite the tears on her cheeks. "You killed my mommy." Diana's smile turned predatory. "Hello, little Emma. You've grown. Pity you won't get the chance to grow much more." The casual cruelty in her voice, speaking of murdering a child like she was discussing the weather, shattered Marcus's restraint. Alpha power exploded from him in waves, making the armed men take an involuntary step backward. "You will not touch my daughter," he growled, his voice dropping to the dangerous rumble that made other werewolves submit. "Oh, but Marcus," Diana purred, "I'm going to do so much more than touch her. You see, Emma here is what we call a loose end. As long as she's alive, there's always the chance someone might start asking inconvenient questions about that accident. About why I was so eager to help you through your grief. About how I gained so much influence in the pack afterward. You've been planning this for 5 years, Marcus realized. Longer than that, actually, Diana admitted with obvious pride. Did you really think your sweet, charitable wife was my only target? I'd been positioning myself to take over your empire for nearly a decade. The car bomb was just the dramatic finale. Sera made a small sound of rage behind him, and Marcus felt something shift in the air around them, a power that made his mate bond pulse with recognition and something deeper. But then this little street rat had to interfere, Diana continued, her gaze fixing on Sera with venomous hatred. Do you have any idea how much trouble you've caused me? 5 years of searching, 5 years of dealing with incompetent mercenaries who couldn't find one homeless girl and a supposedly dead child. I kept her safe, Sera said fiercely, stepping up beside Marcus despite his attempt to keep her protected. I kept her away from monsters like you. Diana studied Sera with the calculating gaze of a predator sizing up prey. Yes, you did. And now you're going to watch her die anyway. Both of you are. That's when Diana made her first mistake. She gestured to her men, and they raised their weapons toward Emma. The world exploded into chaos. Sera moved faster than any human, faster than most werewolves, placing herself between the guns and Emma. But she didn't stop there. Power erupted from her small frame like a silver tsunami, and in the space between one heartbeat and the next, she shifted. But this wasn't the shift of an ordinary Omega. Silver light poured from Sera's transforming body, illuminating the warehouse like daylight. Her wolf form was magnificent, larger than any female Marcus had ever seen, her fur shimmering with an otherworldly luminescence that spoke of ancient bloodlines and forgotten power. Her eyes blazed with the silver fire of the moon goddess herself. Impossible, Diana breathed, her face going white with shock and something that might have been fear. Marcus's own leaken nature responded to the call of his mate's power, centuries of alpha dominance flowing through his veins as he shifted as well. His transformation was swift and brutal, 7 feet of muscle and fury designed for one purpose, protecting his family. The armed men opened fire, but Sera was already moving. She flowed between the bullets like liquid moonlight, her powerful jaws clamping down on the first gunman's weapon and crushing it to scrap metal. Marcus took down 2 more with swipes of claws that could rend steel, his roar echoing through the warehouse like thunder. Moon goddess bloodline, Diana whispered, backing toward the exit as her men fell around her. You're from the ancient bloodline. Sera's wolf form turned toward Diana, lips pulled back to reveal fangs that gleamed like silver daggers. The power radiating from her was unlike anything Marcus had ever felt, not just Omega submission or alpha dominance, but something older, purer, more fundamental to what they were as a species. No wonder, Diana said, her voice filled with a mixture of awe and rage. No wonder he's bonded to you. You're his true mate. The one the prophecies spoke of. True mate. The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. He'd heard the legends, the stories of wolves blessed by the moon goddess herself to find their perfect match. He'd thought them fairy tales. But looking at Sera, seeing her silver fire and feeling the bond between them pulse with power that transcended the physical world, he knew Diana was right. Kill them. Diana screamed at her remaining men. Kill them all. But her mercenaries were human, and they'd just witnessed 2 werewolves tear through their companions like they were made of paper. The survivors broke and ran, their nerves shattered by the display of supernatural power. Diana stood alone in the warehouse entrance, her designer coat torn and her perfect hair disheveled, but her eyes burning with undiminished hatred. This isn't over, she snarled. You think you've won? You have no idea what you're up against. I have allies you can't imagine, resources you can't fathom. I will see you both dead and that child buried beside her mother where she belongs. Marcus shifted back to human form, his protective instinct still in overdrive. Sera followed suit, her transformation leaving her naked and glowing with residual silver light. Without hesitation, Marcus stripped off his shirt and wrapped it around her, pulling her against his side. Run home to your allies, Marcus said coldly. Tell them Marcus Blackstone knows who his enemies are now. And tell them that anyone who threatens my family answers to me." Diana's smile was pure venom. "Your family? Oh, Marcus. You think that little street rat is going to help you? You think she can protect what's yours?" She laughed, the sound sharp enough to cut glass. "She's not even Pac. She's nothing. And when I'm done with you, she'll be dead nothing." Emma had been silent through the entire confrontation, pressed against a shipping container with her hands over her ears. Now she ran toward Marcus and Sera, her small arms wrapping around both of them. "Mommy. Daddy," she sobbed. "Don't let the bad lady hurt us." The words hit both adults like lightning. Emma, sweet, innocent Emma, had just called Sera Mommy as naturally as she'd called Marcus Daddy. Marcus felt Sera's sharp intake of breath, saw the tears that sprang to her eyes. For 5 years, she'd been this child's mother in every way that mattered. For 5 years, she'd been the parent Marcus couldn't be because he'd thought his daughter was dead. Diana heard it too, and her face twisted with fresh rage. How touching. The little bastard thinks she has a family. She pulled out her phone, her fingers flying over the screen. "We'll see how long that lasts." "Diana," Marcus warned, taking a step toward her. But she was already backing out of the warehouse, her phone pressed to her ear. "It's time," she said to whoever was on the other end. "Time to eliminate the Alpha and his new mate. Use everything we have." Then she was gone, disappearing into the night and leaving behind only the echo of her heels and the promise of greater violence to come. Marcus gathered Emma and Sera closer, his mind already racing through escape routes and safe houses. They'd won this battle, but the war was just beginning. "We need to go," Sera said quietly, her voice still shaky from the transformation. "If she has the resources she claims." "She does," Marcus said grimly. "Diana's been planning this for years. She'll have contingencies, backup plans, allies in places we can't imagine." Emma looked up at both of them with tear-filled eyes. "Are we going to be okay?" Marcus met Sera's gaze over their daughter's head, seeing his own determination reflected there. Whatever came next, they would face it together. "Yes, baby girl," he said, meaning every word. "We're going to be just fine." But even as he spoke the words, he could hear the distant sound of more vehicles approaching, and he knew their reprieve was temporary at best. Diana Sterling had just declared war on his family. Now he had to make sure they all survived it. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Chapter 5. The safe house was a far cry from Marcus's penthouse, a modest cabin tucked away in the Catskill Mountains that he'd bought years ago under a false name, insurance against the kind of betrayal that had just exploded his world apart. As his SUV crunched up the gravel driveway, Emma finally stopped crying long enough to peer out the window. "It looks like a fairy tale house," she whispered, pressing her small face against the glass. Marcus felt his heart clench at the wonder in her voice. After 5 years in abandoned buildings and temporary shelters, anything with 4 solid walls and a working fireplace probably seemed magical to his daughter. "It has a real kitchen," he told her, carrying her while Sera walked beside them, still wearing his shirt over her torn clothes. "And a bathtub. And beds with actual mattresses." Emma's eyes went wide. "A bathtub? Sera, did you hear that? A real bathtub." Sera managed a smile despite the exhaustion etched into her features. "I heard, sweetheart. Maybe we can find some bubbles for it. Can we all fit in the bathtub together?" Emma asked innocently, making both adults freeze. Baby girl," Marcus said carefully, "grown-ups usually take baths separately." "But we're a family now," Emma said matter-of-factly. "Families do things together." The simple statement hit both Marcus and Sera like a physical blow. Family. Was that what they were? A man who'd just discovered his daughter was alive, a young woman who'd sacrificed everything to protect her, and a 10-year-old girl who saw no reason why the 3 people she loved most couldn't be together forever? Marcus unlocked the cabin door and carried Emma inside, Sera following close behind. The interior was warm and welcoming, rustic furniture, a stone fireplace, windows that looked out over the forested mountains. It felt safe in a way that went bone deep. "Why don't you explore while I help Sera clean up?" Marcus suggested, setting Emma down gently. Emma nodded eagerly and scampered off to investigate her new surroundings, leaving Marcus and Sera alone for the first time since the warehouse. The silence stretched between them, heavy with everything that had happened and everything that remained unspoken. "Let me see your arm," Marcus said quietly, noticing the way Sera favored her left side. "I'm fine," Sera protested automatically. "You're bleeding through my shirt," Marcus pointed out. "And arguing with an alpha about medical care isn't your smartest move." Despite everything, Sera's lips quirked in a small smile. "I've been arguing with alphas my whole life. Haven't been smart yet." Marcus guided her to the kitchen, where better lighting revealed the extent of her injuries. The silver transformation had protected her from the worst of the gunfire, but she'd still taken a graze along her forearm and had scrapes across her shoulders from diving to protect Emma. "This might sting," Marcus warned, dampening a clean cloth with warm water. The moment his fingers touched her skin, electricity shot through both of them. Sera gasped, her eyes flying to meet his, and Marcus felt the mate bond flare to life between them like a live wire. "I can feel it," Sera whispered, her voice filled with wonder and fear. "The connection. It's so strong." Marcus's hands stilled on her arm. "How long have you known?" "Known what?" "That we're mates," Marcus said quietly, continuing to clean her wounds even as every nerve in his body screamed at him to pull her closer. "You felt it too, didn't you? That first night at the gala." Sera was quiet for so long Marcus thought she wouldn't answer. Then, so softly he almost missed it, she said, "I've known since the moment I saw you. Even before that, maybe. When I was watching the building, learning your routines, something in me just recognized you." The confession hit Marcus harder than Diana's betrayal had. "You knew, and you stayed away." "I had to," Sera said, her voice breaking. "You were this powerful alpha, this billionaire, this man who could have anyone. And I was nobody. A homeless girl with no pack, no family, no worth. How could I burden you with a bond you never asked for?" Marcus set down the cloth and cupped her face in his hands, forcing her to meet his eyes. "You think you have no worth?" "I know I don't," Sera said simply. "My own parents threw me out when I was 14 because I was too weak to contribute to the pack. I've been surviving on scraps and charity ever since." "Your parents were idiots," Marcus said fiercely. "Look what you've done. You saved my daughter. You've protected her for 5 years. You've raised her to be brave and kind and loving. You think that makes you worthless?" Tears spilled down Sera's cheeks. "She's everything good about me. Without Emma, I'm just—" "You're my mate," Marcus interrupted. "You're the other half of my soul. You're the woman who brought light back into my world when I thought it was nothing but darkness." "Marcus," Sera whispered, but he wasn't done. "I loved Caroline," he continued, his voice rough with emotion. "She was my wife, the mother of my child, and losing her nearly destroyed me. But what I feel for you, this bond between us, it's like nothing I've ever experienced. It's like coming home and going on an adventure at the same time." Sera's hands came up to cover his, her fingers trembling. "I'm terrified you'll wake up tomorrow and realize you don't actually want a broken Omega with nothing to offer." "I'm terrified I'll wake up tomorrow and you'll be gone," Marcus admitted. "That you'll decide Emma's better off without you now that she has me back." They stared at each other, both of them laid bare, both of them offering their hearts despite the fear. "I've never been anyone's first choice," Sera said quietly. "You're not my first choice," Marcus said, and watched her face crumple before he quickly continued. "You're my only choice. You're my mate, Sera. The moon goddess herself chose you for me. That's not coincidence or convenience or gratitude. That's destiny." And then he was kissing her, drawing her against him as 5 years of loneliness and grief and desperate love poured out between them. The mate bond exploded to life, silver light dancing around them as their souls recognized each other and clicked into place like puzzle pieces that had been scattered by fate and finally reunited. Sera melted against him, her arms winding around his neck as she kissed him back with the same desperate hunger. She tasted like hope and home and forever, and Marcus knew with bone-deep certainty that he would die before he let anyone take her away from him. "You saved the most precious thing in my world," he whispered against her lips. "She saved me first," Sera replied, her eyes bright with tears and love. "Emma saved me from being nobody. She gave me a purpose, a reason to keep fighting. And now you've given her back to me," Marcus said. "You've given me back my daughter and my future and my heart." They might have stayed there forever, lost in each other and the miracle of their bond, but a small voice interrupted them. "Are you guys kissing?" Emma asked from the doorway, her tone suggesting she found the entire concept fascinating and slightly gross. Marcus and Sera broke apart, both of them flushing like teenagers caught by their parents. "Maybe a little," Marcus admitted. Emma considered this gravely. "Is that because you love each other now?" "Yeah, baby girl," Marcus said, pulling Sera closer to his side. "I think it is." "Good," Emma said matter-of-factly. "I told you Daddy should love you too, Sera. You take care of people. That's what daddies and mommies do." The simple wisdom of a child, cutting through years of fear and uncertainty to the heart of what mattered. "Emma," Marcus said carefully, "would you like it if Sera and if we became a real family?" Emma's face lit up like Christmas morning. "You mean like married? Like a real mommy and daddy? Would that make you happy?" Sera asked, her voice soft with hope. "It would make me the happiest girl in the whole world," Emma said, launching herself at both of them for a group hug that nearly knocked them over. For a moment, they stood there in the kitchen of the safe house, three people who'd found each other against impossible odds, who'd created a family out of love and loss and determination. Then Emma pulled back, her expression growing serious. "But first we have to stop the bad lady, right? And the bad men who helped her?" Marcus felt the warmth drain from the moment. "What bad men, sweetheart?" Emma bit her lip, the way she always did when she was thinking hard about something difficult. "The men who helped her with Mommy's car. I remember them." Sera went very still. "Emma, what do you remember about that night?" "All of it," Emma said quietly. "I remember everything. I didn't want to talk about it because it was scary. But maybe I should tell you now." Marcus knelt down to her level, his heart pounding. "Can you tell us who was there? Who helped Diana?" Emma nodded solemnly. "There were three men with the lady who looks like Mommy. One of them was really big with yellow hair. One had a scar on his face. And one." She paused, her brow furrowing. "One was someone I knew. Someone who came to our house for dinners." "Someone from the pack?" Marcus asked, his alpha instincts sharpening. "Someone you trusted," Emma confirmed. "Someone who always brought me presents and called me Little Princess." Before Marcus could ask for more details, the sound of a car engine cut through the mountain air. He was on his feet instantly, every protective instinct firing as he moved to the window. A familiar black sedan was pulling up the driveway. "It's Jacob," Marcus said, relief flooding through him. His beta had been his most trusted friend for over a decade, the one person he could always count on. "He must have tracked us through the pack bond." Marcus moved toward the door, but Emma's small hand caught his arm. "Daddy, wait," she whispered urgently, her face pale with fear. "He was there that night, Daddy. The man with the presents who calls me Princess. It was Uncle Jacob." If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Chapter 6. Marcus froze with his hand on the door handle, Emma's whispered words echoing in his mind like a death knell. Jacob. His beta. His most trusted friend for over a decade. The man who'd stood beside him at Caroline's funeral, who'd helped him search for Emma's body, who'd been like a brother to him. The man who'd apparently helped murder his wife and daughter. "Are you sure, baby girl?" Marcus asked quietly, though the sick certainty in his gut already knew the answer. Emma nodded, pressing closer to Sera. He was there with the bad lady. He had a big bag of tools, and he did something to Mommy's car. Then he patted my head and called me princess, just like always. The engine cut off outside, followed by the slam of a car door and familiar footsteps on the gravel. Jacob's voice called out, warm and concerned, exactly like it had been 1,000 times before. Marcus? I tracked your scent here. Thank God you're safe. When I heard about the warehouse attack. Marcus looked at Sera, seeing his own grim realization reflected in her silver eyes. They were trapped in a cabin in the mountains with a 10-year-old child, facing a betrayal that went deeper than he'd ever imagined. The back door, Sera whispered urgently. We can. A heavy knock interrupted her, followed by Jacob's voice, closer now, right outside the front entrance. Marcus, I know you're in there. Your SUV is in the driveway. Look, I understand if you're being cautious after what happened with Diana, but we need to talk. I have information about who else might be involved. The concern in Jacob's voice was so perfectly authentic that if Marcus hadn't had Emma's testimony, he might have believed it. Might have opened the door and welcomed his oldest friend inside. Instead, he pulled Emma and Sera toward the back of the cabin, his mind racing through options. The nearest neighbor was miles away. His phone had no signal this deep in the mountains. And Jacob knew all of Marcus's safe houses, all of his escape routes, all of his contingency plans. Because Jacob had helped him create them. Marcus? Jacob's voice was taking on an edge of impatience. I can smell you in there. And the girl. And. A pause. Something else. Something powerful. That's when Marcus heard it, the subtle sound of other footsteps around the cabin. Jacob hadn't come alone. Daddy, Emma whispered, tugging on his shirt. I'm scared. It's okay, baby girl, Marcus said, though his heart was hammering against his ribs. We're going to. The front door exploded inward. Jacob stood in the doorway, but this wasn't the familiar friend Marcus had known for years. This Jacob's eyes were cold and calculating, his usual easy smile replaced by something predatory. Behind him came 4 other werewolves Marcus recognized from his pack, trusted members of his inner circle, men he'd shared meals with, fought beside, considered family. All of them pointing weapons at his daughter. Hello, Marcus, Jacob said pleasantly, as if they'd run into each other at a coffee shop. Thanks for making this easy. When Diana told me you'd found the little loose end, I knew you'd bring her somewhere you felt safe. Jacob, Marcus said carefully, shifting to keep Emma and Sera behind him. We can talk about this. Whatever Diana promised you. Diana didn't promise me anything, Jacob interrupted. I promised her. 5 years ago, when she first approached me with her brilliant plan to remove your weak wife and annoying heir so that real strength could lead the pack. The casual way he spoke about murdering Caroline and Emma, like he was discussing the weather, sent ice-cold rage through Marcus's veins. You were my friend, Marcus said, his voice barely controlled. I was your beta, Jacob corrected. You're second. Always following orders from an alpha who was more concerned with human charities than werewolf supremacy. Do you have any idea how frustrating it was, watching you waste our pack's potential? So you decided to kill my family. I decided to solve a problem, Jacob said with a shrug. Caroline was making you weak, and Emma would have grown up to be just as pathetically soft. The pack needed strong leadership, not another generation of bleeding hearts. Marcus felt his leaken nature rising, the alpha in him demanding blood for the betrayal. But before he could shift, Jacob raised a small device that looked like a perfume sprayer. I wouldn't, Jacob warned. This little beauty is loaded with a concentrated sedative designed specifically for alpha physiology. 1 spray and you'll be unconscious in seconds. And then where would that leave your precious daughter and your interesting new girlfriend? His gaze flicked to Sera with obvious curiosity. Diana was very intrigued by the reports of what happened at the warehouse. Silver light, moon goddess power, that sort of thing. She's quite eager to meet you properly. Stay away from her, Marcus growled. Oh, Marcus, Jacob laughed. You still don't understand, do you? This was never about just killing Emma. Diana's plans are so much bigger than that. He nodded to his men, who began moving to surround them. You see, we've recently learned some very interesting things about bloodlines. About prophecies. About a certain young woman who might be far more valuable alive than dead. Sera pressed closer to Marcus, her body trembling with barely controlled power. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't you? Jacob's smile was predatory. The silver transformation. The overwhelming power that sent trained mercenaries running. Tell me, little wolf, do you dream of the moon? Do you hear voices that aren't there? Do you sometimes feel like you're connected to something vast and ancient and infinitely powerful? Marcus felt Sera's sharp intake of breath and knew Jacob had hit the mark. The prophesied Luna, Jacob continued, his voice filled with greedy satisfaction. The moon goddess descendant who would unite all werewolf packs under one rule. Diana's been searching for you for years. To drain your power, one of Jacob's men added with a cruel smile. To take what makes you special and use it for someone worthy. That's when Emma stepped out from behind Marcus, her small face set with a determination that reminded him painfully of Caroline. You're all very bad men, she said clearly. And you're not going to hurt my family. Jacob laughed. Oh, little princess. Still so naive. Your family is about to. He raised the sedative sprayer, but Emma was faster. Light exploded from the 10-year-old girl, not silver like Sera's, but pure golden radiance that sent the werewolf stumbling backward in shock. She's manifesting, one of them shouted. The child has power too. And that's when Sera's restraint finally snapped. Silver light erupted from her like a supernova, but this time it was different. This time, the power didn't just surround her, it transformed her into something beyond werewolf, beyond human, beyond anything Marcus had ever seen. She rose into the air, suspended by pure moon goddess energy, her eyes blazing with silver fire that seemed to look directly into the souls of everyone present. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of centuries, of ancient power that had been sleeping and was now fully awake. You will not touch my family. Jacob's men screamed and fell to their knees as Sera's power washed over them. But it didn't just knock them down, it stripped something fundamental from them, leaving them gasping and powerless, their werewolf nature simply gone. Impossible, Jacob breathed, his face white with terror. You can't permanently remove our abilities. No one has that power. The prophesied Luna does, Sera said, her voice still carrying that otherworldly resonance. And you just threatened her child. She gestured, and Jacob's remaining men collapsed, their supernatural strength and speed ripped away forever. But Jacob himself raised the sedative sprayer with desperate speed. Marcus moved faster than thought, his leaken nature responding to the threat to his mate. He shifted mid-leap, his claws extending to tear the device from Jacob's hand and send it spinning across the room. You won't drug my mate, Marcus snarled, his wolf form radiating alpha dominance. Your mate? Jacob's eyes widened with horrified understanding. You've bonded with her. The prophesied Luna is your true mate. Which means, Marcus said, shifting back to human form but keeping his claws extended, that her power and mine are connected. He reached for Sera's hand, and the moment their skin touched, silver and gold light exploded through the cabin. Their combined power was beyond anything either of them had experienced alone, devastating, unstoppable, and absolutely terrifying to anyone who stood against them. Jacob tried to run, but Sera's voice stopped him cold. You helped kill her mother, she said, floating down to stand beside Marcus, their hands still linked and power still flowing between them. You tried to murder a 5-year-old child. You betrayed the Alpha who trusted you above all others. Sera, Marcus said quietly, he's not worth it. No, Sera agreed. He's not. With a gesture, she stripped Jacob of his werewolf nature as completely as she had the others. He collapsed, suddenly ordinary, suddenly powerless, suddenly just a man who'd betrayed everything sacred about pack bonds. The pack will know what you did, Marcus told the fallen beta. Every werewolf in the territory will know you're oathbreakers and child killers. You'll never be safe among our kind again. But before Jacob could respond, the sound of multiple vehicles rumbling up the mountain road filled the air. Through the broken door, Marcus could see headlights cutting through the darkness. Too many to count, too many to fight. Emma ran to the window, her golden light flickering around her small form. Daddy, there are lots of cars coming. And the bad lady is in the first one. Marcus felt his blood turn to ice as Diana's voice echoed through the night, amplified by some kind of speaker system. Marcus, darling, I hope you've enjoyed your little family reunion. But playtime is over now. Through the window, they could see her standing beside a black limousine, surrounded by at least 20 werewolves. Not pack members this time, but rogues, wolves who'd been cast out from their families and had nothing left to lose. I have your entire pack surrounded, Diana continued, her voice carrying clearly through the mountain air. Every member of your family, every wolf who ever swore loyalty to you. And I'm going to kill them one by one unless you give me what I want. Sera's hand tightened in Marcus's. What does she want? Diana's laugh was like breaking glass. I want the prophesied Luna, of course. I want Sera to come with me willingly, and in exchange, I'll let your precious pack live. You have 5 minutes to decide. The ultimatum hung in the air like a death sentence. Sera started toward the door, but Marcus caught her arm. No, he said fiercely. I'm not losing you again. And I'm not letting innocent people die for me, Sera replied, her silver eyes blazing with determination. Outside, Diana's countdown had begun. 4 minutes and 30 seconds, darling. Choose quickly. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Chapter 7. For minutes, Diana's voice echoed through the mountain air, each word like a countdown to damnation. Marcus stared out at the army of rogue werewolves surrounding the cabin, his alpha instincts calculating odds that weren't in their favor. 20 rogues against him, Sera, and a 10-year-old child. Even with their combined power, the numbers were overwhelming. And somewhere out there, Diana held the lives of his entire pack hostage. Marcus, Sera said quietly, her hand slipping from his. You know what you have to do. No. The word came out sharp and final. Whatever you're thinking, no. Sera's silver eyes were luminous with unshed tears, but her voice was steady. She's right. I have to go with her. It's the only way to save your pack, to save Emma. The hell you do, Marcus growled, his alpha nature rejecting the very idea of surrendering his mate. Look at me, Sera said, cupping his face in her hands. Really look at me. 5 years ago, I was nobody. A homeless girl with no future, no hope, no reason to exist. Emma gave me a purpose, and you gave me love. But your pack has hundreds of innocent wolves who don't deserve to die because of me. 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Diana called cheerfully. Emma tugged on Marcus's shirt, her small face pale but determined. Daddy, what if we all went together? What if we don't let them separate us? Baby girl, Marcus said gently, Diana doesn't want me and you. She wants Sera. And if we all go together, she'll kill you and Emma once she has what she wants, Sera finished quietly. I won't let that happen. Marcus pulled her against him, breathing in her scent, memorizing the feel of her in his arms. There has to be another way. There is, Sera said, and for a moment, her voice carried that otherworldly resonance again. But it's not what any of us expect. Before Marcus could ask what she meant, Sera closed her eyes and went very still. Silver light began to emanate from her skin, but this was different from the explosive power she'd shown before. This was gentle, searching, like moonlight filtering through clouds. Sera? Marcus said urgently. What are you doing? But Sera was no longer entirely present. Her consciousness had expanded, reaching out beyond the physical world into something vast and ancient and infinitely powerful. Child, came a voice like silver bells and starlight. You have called, and I have answered. Sera found herself standing in a place that wasn't quite a place, surrounded by swirling mists and bathed in gentle moonlight. Before her stood a figure of impossible beauty, tall and ethereal with silver hair that moved like liquid light and eyes that held the wisdom of millennia. The moon goddess, Sera breathed, falling to her knees. "Rise, my daughter," the goddess said, her voice filled with infinite compassion. "You have no need to kneel before me. You are my chosen, my prophesied Luna, the bridge between all packs." "I don't understand," Sera said, standing on trembling legs. "Everyone says I'm supposed to unite the werewolves, but all I seem to do is bring destruction and pain." The moon goddess smiled, and the expression was like sunrise after the longest night. "You think your power is about destroying, about taking away what others have. But that is only half the truth." With a gesture, the goddess showed Sera a vision, herself floating in silver light, but instead of stripping werewolves of their abilities, she was giving them something. Connecting them. Creating bonds between packs that had been enemies for centuries. "Your true gift is unity," the goddess explained. "You can take away the darkness that divides my children, the hatred and jealousy and greed that keeps them apart. You can strip away everything that makes them less than what they were meant to be." But Diana Sterling is consumed by ambition and rage. She sees only power to be taken, never power to be shared. She would use your abilities to dominate, never understanding that true strength comes from bringing others together. Sera felt understanding dawn like light breaking through darkness. Marcus and Emma. They were always meant to be my family. Always, the goddess confirmed. From the moment Marcus first felt the call to protect and lead, from the moment Emma took her first breath, they were destined to be yours as you were destined to be theirs. You saved his daughter not by chance, but by design. Love called to love across the darkness. "Then what do I do?" Sera asked desperately. "How do I save them? How do I save everyone?" The moon goddess reached out and touched Sera's forehead, and knowledge flooded through her, not facts or strategies, but deep, bone-deep understanding of what she truly was. "You stop hiding from what you are," the goddess said gently. "You stop believing you are too small, too broken, too worthless to claim your destiny. You are my Luna, my chosen daughter, and it is time you embraced the power I gave you, not to destroy, but to heal." The vision faded, and Sera found herself back in the cabin, Marcus's worried face swimming into focus above her. "Sera. Thank God, you've been standing there for almost a minute without moving." "I thought. 2 minutes." Diana's voice cut through his relief. Sera smiled, and Marcus had never seen her look so peaceful, so certain. "I know what to do." "What did you see?" Marcus demanded. "The truth," Sera said simply. "About what I really am. About what we really are." She looked at Emma, who was watching with those wise green eyes. "All of us." She walked to the broken door and stepped outside, Marcus and Emma right behind her. Diana stood 50 yards away, surrounded by her army of rogues, her perfect features twisted with triumph. "Wise choice, darling," Diana called. "Come along then. Your new life awaits." But Sera didn't move toward Diana. Instead, she stepped forward and raised her voice so everyone could hear. "I am Sera Matthews," she announced, her voice carrying clearly through the mountain air. "I am the prophesied Luna, chosen daughter of the moon goddess, and mate to Alpha Marcus Blackstone." Silver light began to emanate from her skin, but this time it spread outward like ripples on a pond. "And I offer every wolf here a choice," Sera continued. "You can serve a woman who sees you as expendable tools, who would drain my power to make herself a tyrant. Or you can choose to be part of something better. Something united." The silver light reached the first of Diana's rogues, and instead of stripping away their abilities, it offered them something they'd never had: belonging. Connection. The chance to be part of a pack again instead of cast-out loners with nothing to lose. One by one, the rogues began to lower their weapons. "No!" Diana shrieked, her perfect composure finally cracking. "You work for me. I pay you. I own you. You can't own wolves, Marcus said, stepping up beside Sera, his alpha power blending with her lunar radiance. Wolves choose their pack. And they're choosing us. More rogues were laying down their weapons now, drawn by the promise of belonging that flowed from Sera's power. Diana's army was dissolving before her eyes. Fine, Diana snarled, her beautiful face twisting with rage. If I can't have your power willingly, I'll take it from your corpse. She shifted, her transformation violent and brutal, becoming a wolf the color of shadow and spite. The remaining rogues who were still loyal to her money rather than Sera's promise followed suit. The battle that followed was unlike anything Marcus had ever experienced. He and Sera fought side by side, their powers complementing each other perfectly, his alpha strength protecting while her Luna abilities turned enemies into allies. Emma's golden light danced around them, amplifying their bond and creating a shield that deflected the worst attacks. In the midst of the chaos, as Diana's wolf form lunged for Sera's throat, Marcus made his choice. Not between duty and love, not between his pack and his mate, but the choice to claim what was his completely and forever. He caught Diana in mid-leap, his claws raking across her flank as he sent her tumbling away from Sera. Then, as his mate turned to him with silver fire in her eyes, he pulled her against him and sank his teeth into the curve of her neck, the marking bite that would make their bond permanent and unbreakable. Power exploded between them, silver and gold light spiraling upward like a beacon that could be seen for miles. Every werewolf in the territory would know that Marcus Blackstone had claimed his true mate, and that the prophesied Luna had risen. "You're my heart," Marcus said against Sera's throat as their bond settled into place with almost painful perfection. "My soul, my everything. I choose you. I choose us. I choose our family." "Always," Sera whispered back, her power flowing through him now, completing him in ways he'd never imagined possible. Diana's remaining forces broke completely, either fleeing into the night or laying down their weapons in surrender. The woman herself had shifted back to human form, her designer clothes torn and bloody, her face a mask of frustrated fury. "This isn't over," she spat, backing toward the tree line. "You think you've won? You have no idea what forces you're dealing with. I have allies you can't imagine, resources you can't fathom." "Then bring them," Sera said calmly, her silver eyes blazing with moon goddess power. "Bring every enemy you have. We'll be ready." Diana's laugh was sharp with hysteria. "Oh, you will be, will you? Let's see how ready you are for this." In one swift motion, she pulled a silver knife from her boot and hurled it, not at Marcus or Sera, but at Emma, who was standing a few feet away, still glowing with golden light. "No!" Marcus roared, diving toward his daughter. But Diana had aimed true, and the knife was too fast, too close. It streaked through the air toward Emma's heart, death flying on silver wings. Time seemed to slow as Marcus realized he wouldn't reach her in time, as Sera's scream of denial echoed through the mountains, as everything they'd fought for hung in the balance of that single, terrible moment. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Chapter 8. Time crystallized into a single, horrifying moment as Diana's silver knife flew through the air toward Emma's heart. Marcus dove desperately toward his daughter, but he was too far away, the blade too fast, death arriving on wings of hatred and spite. Then Emma raised her small hand, and golden light exploded from her palm. The knife stopped mid-flight, suspended in a cocoon of pure radiance just inches from the 10-year-old's chest. Emma's green eyes blazed with power that was unmistakably her own, not borrowed from her parents, but something uniquely hers, something that had been growing stronger with every moment of love and protection she'd received. "You can't hurt my family," Emma said, her voice carrying an authority that made even the remaining rogues step back. "The moon goddess told me so." With a flick of her wrist, the knife turned in mid-air and embedded itself harmlessly in a nearby tree. Diana stared in shock, her last desperate gambit turned to ash by a child who refused to be a victim. "Impossible," Diana breathed. "She's just a child. She can't have that kind of power." "She's our child," Sera said, stepping forward with silver light dancing around her like starfire. The daughter of an alpha and the adopted daughter of the prophesied Luna. Did you really think she'd be ordinary? Marcus swept Emma into his arms, his heart hammering against his ribs as he checked her for injuries. Are you okay, baby girl? I'm okay, Daddy, Emma said, wrapping her arms around his neck. The pretty lady in my dreams told me what to do. She said love is always stronger than hate. Over Emma's head, Marcus met Sera's eyes and saw his own amazement reflected there. Their daughter, because Emma was Sera's daughter now, in every way that mattered, had just manifested powers that rivaled their own. Diana was backing toward the tree line now, her perfect composure completely shattered. Blood trickled from various wounds, her designer clothes were ruined, and her forces had either fled or surrendered. But the rage in her eyes burned as bright as ever. This isn't over, she snarled. I'll find other allies, other resources. I'll come back with an army that... No, Sera said quietly, stepping toward the woman who'd caused so much pain. You won't. Silver light flowed from Sera's skin, but this wasn't the destructive power she'd used before. This was something else, something that reached into Diana's very soul and began to strip away everything dark and twisted that had consumed her. Diana screamed as years of jealousy, greed, and murderous ambition were burned away by moon goddess fire. But when the light faded, she wasn't powerless, she was purified. The hatred that had driven her for so long was simply gone, leaving behind a confused, broken woman who looked around as if seeing the world clearly for the first time in years. What? Diana whispered, pressing her hands to her head. What did I do? Caroline. Oh God, what did I do to Caroline and Emma? The full weight of her crimes hit her without the madness that had justified them, and Diana collapsed to her knees, sobbing with grief and horror at her own actions. I killed my sister, she wept. I tried to murder a child. I destroyed everything good in my life for what? Money? Power? She looked up at Marcus with tear-filled eyes. How do I live with what I've done? Marcus stared down at the woman who'd orchestrated his wife's murder, who'd spent 5 years hunting his daughter, who'd just tried to kill Emma with her own hands. Every alpha instinct screamed for vengeance, for blood, for justice served with claws and fangs. But Sera's hands slipped into his, and through their bond, he felt her compassion, her understanding that true strength sometimes meant choosing mercy over vengeance. You live with it by spending the rest of your life trying to make amends, Marcus said finally. By surrendering yourself to werewolf justice and accepting whatever punishment the council decides. By finding a way to honor my wife's memory instead of desecrating it. Diana nodded, understanding that this was more mercy than she deserved. The pack funds I stole, the resources I diverted, I'll return everything. And the other conspirators, I'll give you names, locations, everything you need to root them out. See that you do, Marcus said. Then, because he was an alpha and some things had to be made clear, and Diana? If you ever threaten my family again, if you ever come near my daughter or my mate, I won't be so merciful next time. Diana nodded, still weeping, and allowed herself to be led away by the few pack members who'd arrived as backup. Marcus would deal with the legal and political ramifications later. Right now, all that mattered was the warm weight of Emma in his arms and Sera pressed against his side. Is it really over? Sera asked quietly. It's really over, Marcus confirmed, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. Diana will face justice, her conspirators will be rooted out, and our family is safe. Our family, Sera repeated wonderingly. I still can't believe this is real. Emma pulled back from Marcus's embrace to beam at both of them. Of course it's real. We're a family now. The moon goddess lady told me so. She said we're going to have lots of adventures together. Adventures? Marcus asked, raising an eyebrow. Uh-huh. She said Sera's going to help unite all the werewolf packs, and you're going to be the alpha of alphas, and I'm going to help both of you make the world better for everyone. Marcus looked at Sera, seeing the same mixture of hope and trepidation in her silver eyes. The prophesied Luna. Unite all packs under one rule. Not rule, Sera corrected softly. Leadership. Guidance. The kind of strength that brings people together instead of tearing them apart. She paused, then added with a smile, besides, I'll have the best alpha in the world helping me. And the best daughter, Marcus added, making Emma giggle. 3 months later. The Blackstone estate had been transformed. What had once been the private residence of a single powerful pack was now the headquarters of the United Werewolf Council, a governing body that brought together representatives from every pack in North America. The process hadn't been easy, but with Sera's Luna abilities to heal old wounds and Marcus's alpha strength to enforce new laws, they were making unprecedented progress. Sera stood in the gardens behind the house, watching Emma play with a group of young werewolves from various packs. The sight still took her breath away. Children who'd been raised to see other packs as enemies now playing together as friends, their parents learning to cooperate instead of compete. Admiring your handiwork? Marcus asked, wrapping his arms around her from behind. Our handiwork, Sera corrected, leaning back against his solid warmth. I couldn't have done any of this without you. We make a good team, Marcus agreed, nuzzling the mark on her neck that declared her his mate for all the world to see. They'd been officially mated 2 months ago in a ceremony that had drawn werewolves from across the continent. Sera had worn Caroline's wedding dress, a gesture that had taken months of therapy and healing conversations but had ultimately felt right. Caroline would have wanted her daughter to have a mother who loved her, and she would have wanted Marcus to find happiness again. The council meeting went well today, Sera said. 3 more packs voted to join the alliance. And the medical research project? Dr. Harrison says they're making real progress on werewolf genetic diseases. Having pack healers working with human doctors is producing results neither could achieve alone. Marcus smiled against her hair. See? Unity does work better than division. Most of the time, Sera agreed. Though I still have to referee the occasional dominance dispute. That's what makes you such a good Luna. You're strong enough to make alphas behave, but compassionate enough to help them find common ground. Their peaceful moment was interrupted by Emma's delighted squeal as she raced toward them, golden light dancing around her small form. Mommy. Daddy. Guess what I learned today? Sera's heart still skipped a beat every time Emma called her mommy. She'd legally adopted Emma 2 weeks after the mating ceremony, making their family official in human courts as well as werewolf law. What did you learn, sweetheart? Sera asked, kneeling down to Emma's level. Mrs. Chen taught me how to make chocolate chip cookies. And Tommy's mom showed me how to braid hair. And Alpha Peterson's daughter taught me a new song. Emma's words tumbled over each other in her excitement. Sounds like you had a busy day, Marcus said, ruffling her dark curls. The best day, Emma declared. Every day is the best day now that we're all together. Out of the mouths of babes. Marcus pulled both his girls close, marveling at how completely his world had changed. 3 months ago, he'd been a grieving widower convinced his daughter was dead. Now he had a mate who completed his soul and a daughter who was alive and thriving and surrounded by love. Marcus? Sera said suddenly, her voice holding an odd note. What is it? Sera's hand drifted to her stomach, her silver eyes wide with wonder and just a touch of nervousness. I think the moon goddess has one more surprise for us. It took Marcus a moment to understand, and when he did, his knees nearly buckled. Are you? I think so, Sera said, her smile radiant. We should probably confirm it, but my body feels different, and I've been having the strangest dreams about silver and gold light dancing together. Emma, who'd been listening with the intensity only children could manage, suddenly let out a whoop of joy. A baby. We're going to have a baby. I'm going to be a big sister. She began dancing around them, her golden light creating sparkles in the air that looked like celebration confetti. Marcus gathered Sera into his arms, spinning her around as laughter bubbled up from deep in his chest. Are you happy? Sera asked when he set her down, her hands framing his face. Happy doesn't begin to cover it, Marcus said, capturing her lips in a kiss that tasted of joy and forever and new beginnings. I love you, Sera Blackstone. I love our family. I love the life we're building together. Even if that life involves mediating disputes between territorial alphas and changing diapers? Sera teased. Especially then, Marcus said solemnly, making her laugh. As the sun set over the Blackstone estate, painting the sky in shades of gold and silver that seemed particularly appropriate, the three of them stood together in their garden. Around them, the sounds of the United Werewolf Council carried on the evening air, different packs working together, former enemies becoming allies, a new world being built on the foundation of love instead of fear. Do you think she knows? Sera asked suddenly. Caroline? Do you think she knows that Emma is safe and loved and happy? Marcus was quiet for a long moment, then nodded. I think she knows. And I think she approves of the woman who became Emma's mother. And your mate, Sera added softly. And my mate, Marcus agreed. The love of my life. My Luna. My everything. Emma tugged on both their hands, pulling them toward the house where Mrs. Chen was probably putting the finishing touches on dinner. Come on. I want to tell everyone about the baby. As they walked toward their home, their real home, filled with love and laughter and the promise of tomorrow, Sera felt a gentle presence brush against her consciousness. Not the moon goddess this time, but something warmer, more familiar. Thank you, came a whisper that might have been Caroline's voice or might have been the wind. Thank you for loving them. Thank you for giving them the family they deserve. Thank you for trusting me with them, Sera whispered back. And as they stepped through the doors of their home, surrounded by the sound of Emma's excited chatter and the warmth of Marcus's love, Sera knew with absolute certainty that this was exactly where she belonged. Sometimes the best families weren't born, they were chosen, fought for, and bound together by love strong enough to overcome any obstacle. This was their happily ever after, and it was just the beginning. I know you enjoyed this video. Do well to like this video and make sure you subscribe to this channel for more interesting stories like this. A lot of you have suggestions and concerns. Do well to drop them in the comments section. If you don't, I won't know what you like and what you don't. Don't forget to share to family and friends so they experience the same feeling. The end.